Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And as you can tell from the firearm that I'm holding today, it might be an interesting one, especially if you like variants of the AR-15 and like higher end AR-15 manufacturers. And the gun that we will be taking to the range, shooting and reviewing is the Knights Armament SR-30 E3 Mod 2. And essentially that means this is an AR-15 style rifle chambered in .300 Blackout that happens to be an SBR, and of course made by Knights Armament, which is a company that some people love and some people hate. And most of the detractors of this company pretty much only complain about the difficulty of acquiring these guns and their price. But if you're a collector, you know all about the brand that is Knights Armament. They make a lot of guns for militaries and police departments around the world, and that's why they are sought after by the people that love to collect and shoot tactical rifles. So this one is going to be an interesting review because I have shot quite a few other Knights Armaments, but not one in .300 Blackout. So I'm really excited to see how this one performs at the range. But before we go to the range, when I talk about this gun specs and all the things that I like and don't like about it, as always, I want to thank the people that make these videos possible. First and foremost is the owner of this very awesome rifle. He's a local fan and subscriber. His name is D. You've heard me talk about him many times. He has an amazing collection. So thank you again, D, for lending another awesome firearm for me to review. As always, I want to thank my Patreon supporters because through their monthly donations and support, they help keep the lights on around here, and I could not do this without their support. And if you want to join my Patreon for as little as $1 a month, there's a link in the description below, and you get to see all these videos early. And as always, I want to thank my primary sponsor who provides all of the ammunition for these range reports, making them financially feasible for me, my good friend Mark from Brownworks. And here we are once again reviewing another high-end gun. And I know if you're here to watch this video, you have other collectible guns. You might have a Colt 1911, a Browning High Power, a CZ75, or a Beretta 92, just to name a few. And these guns take wood panel grips. And you might be in the market for a set of grips to upgrade your gun, make them unique and special. Well, the grip company you need to check out is Brownworks. Brownworks is a custom grip company making a wide variety of grips for a wide variety of firearms out of a wide variety of exotic woods and materials. I'm always talking about all the things Mark can add to these grips, such as custom logos, custom engravings, custom textures, finishing these grips in a wide variety of colors. He can even create his own laminate woods and apply exotic materials like snakeskin and alligator skin, making them unique and one of a kind. Pretty much anything you can imagine, Mark can make. So I'm going to put a link to his website in the comment section below, as well as a coupon code for 10% off your first order. And I'm going to ask you guys to go over there and see everything he has to offer. So when you place your order for your first set of custom grips, please tell Mark the Texas Gun Vault sent you. And as I mentioned, this is going to be a really interesting review for me. This is a very cool gun. And I want to talk to you about all the things that go into this gun, its specs, the things that I like and don't like. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust the camera, give you some close-ups. We'll talk more about this rifle, and then we're going to take it to the range. So let's talk about this rifle and what it is. Once again, this is the Knights Armament Company SR-30 E3 Mod 2, otherwise known as the Stoner rifle. That's what SR stands for, and of course that is named after the designer of the AR-15 and the AR-10, Eugene Stoner. This is an SBR. It has a 9.5-inch barrel with a 1 7 twist. Its overall length is 26.7 inches with the stock collapsed. When you pull the stock out, it is 30 inches. It weighs 6.2 pounds. It is chambered in .300 Blackout. It is a direct impingement gun with a non-adjustable gas block, which is a little bit different for many .300 Blackouts, especially if you're trying to tune subsonic. So hopefully this has been designed well and will run with a lot of different ammunition. It is finished in FDE. It's either a painted finish or a Cerakote finish. It is not anodized. It has Magpul furniture. We have a grip, in a stock here. It has all ambi controls, so both sides you can release the magazine and the bolt. And it has a Knights Armament 2-stage trigger in it, and these are pretty darn nice. Typically people really like them. So I want to get out the Lyman trigger pull weight gauge, measure it, and see how nice it actually is. So let's take a closer look at this trigger. We're going to take a look at the initial take-up, the reset, and of course we will measure it with the trigger gauge. Let's start by dropping the magazine, ensuring there is no ammunition in it, and of course safety checking the firearm and ensuring that there is no ammunition in the chamber, and it looks like we are good. So let's start off with the initial take-up. This is a 2-stage trigger, and as you can see we have a little bit of take-up here. And it's smooth. It comes back to a definitive wall. That's the break. It's very, very crisp, especially for an AR-15. And then here is our reset. Very tactile, very audible. It almost feels like that trigger wants to reset on its own. It's very, very solid. So that's what the trigger looks like when it is pulled. So now let's go ahead and test it with the trigger gauge. And for our first pull, we have 4 pounds, 13.8 ounces. Four pounds, 15.0 ounces. Four pounds, 14.5 ounces. Four pounds, 14.2 ounces. And finally we have 5 pounds, 1.5 ounces, which gives us an average of 4 pounds, 15 ounces. And I think for a gun that is most likely designed for CQB and home defense, that is kind of the perfect weight. I don't think you want it to be any lighter. This is not designed to be a target or precision gun. It is designed to be carried into a building if you're trying to clear it or defend your home. And so you want something that's going to be light, but not too light. And for me, that falls right into that sweet spot. So that's what this trigger pull is all about. So now let me readjust the camera and I'll tell you about all the things about this gun that I like and don't like. So that's all the specs about this gun and what I know about it. So now let's talk about the things that I like and don't like. And I always want to start with the positive first. And the first thing I love about this gun is the fact that it is a Knights Armament. Maybe I'm a little bit of a brand snob, and yes, I do get frustrated with them because sometimes I need to get parts for certain builds and they just don't make a lot of stuff for us civilians. They mainly focus on police and military contracts. But that's also what makes these so sought after, is their military heritage. People love these guns because governments around the world trust them for their militaries. And as a collector of tactical guns, you just want something like that. They're very utilitarian, but they also look great. And speaking of the gun looking great, I am very impressed with the finish on this rifle. In the past, I have not been as complimentary because it always looked like the finish was an overspray of the finish over a black rifle. However, it looks like on this one, they actually took the time to disassemble everything, paint it correctly, and then reassemble it. So we don't get all of the overspray on the barrel. It actually looks pretty good. So it looks like they have upped their game when it comes to the finish. I also like the fact this gun has all these ambi controls, and they're not oversized. They're very simplistic. And so if you're a left-handed shooter or want to manipulate the gun with your non-shooting hand, you can do that very easy. I like the fact this has a 9.5-inch barrel. I feel like many companies today are trying to make 300 Blackout firearms too short, and that also gives it some problems because when you're trying to run subsonic ammunition, if it's not gassed correctly, you can have some issues. But I believe 300 Blackout really was designed for 8 and 9-inch barrels, so this is the perfect length. I also like the fact this does not have an adjustable gas block. I find that is the weak point in many 300 Blackouts. Often the guns are undergassed and they do not perform well unless you can figure out how to dial them in on the specific ammunition you are using. But if you want to run this like a standard AR-15, you want something that might be a little bit overgassed and will run with everything. So they're going to be feeling pretty confident with this if they're running a non-adjustable gas block. Now, there is a couple things about this gun I don't like. Now, this one does not pertain to me, but I know may pertain to some of you. And you guys might like to run binary triggers. And if you like to run binary triggers, you know your safety selector switch has a third position. However, Knight's Armament has put a little block right here on the side of the receiver. So if you have any type of trigger like a forced reset trigger or a binary trigger, you can't use that third position. I don't like that. That's going to limit the options of triggers that you can put in here unless you want to mill that off. And of course, that would hurt the value and the collectability. The other thing about this gun is easily changed out, but I don't like it, is the grip. I kind of prefer A2 grips on Knight's Armament guns because they have that military heritage, but of course you can change that out at almost no cost. They used to use A2 grips exclusively, but they've moved over to Magpul. But that's, as I said, something easily changed out and just a personal preference. All right, so now it's time to get this thing to the range and see how it shoots. So for this first test, we're going to run super and subsonic ammunition, both suppressed and unsuppressed. And the thing that we're testing out here is, number one, does the gun run well with various ammunition? Does it run suppressed well? And does it run subsonic ammunition, considering it does not have an adjustable gas block? Sometimes these guns want to run with a suppressor with subsonic ammunition, but I also argue this is an important test because some people can own this gun but might live in a jurisdiction where they can't own a suppressor. And I know some people are going to ask, what suppressor am I using for this review? I am using a Knight's Armament 7.62 QDC CRS PRG. So a lot of letters in that model name, but it is a can designed for 30 caliber and this gun. So hopefully it's going to run well. So let's go to the range. Let's see how this gun performs and see if I discover anything about it that I like or don't like, and I'll report back to you. And so let's talk about what happened. Let's talk about its performance. Does it run super and subsonic ammunition? The answer is yes, but kind of with subsonic. Now with supersonic ammunition, it runs great. No problems whatsoever, both with and without a suppressor. Now when it came to the gun being run with subsonic ammunition, it was running, but it was almost short stroking. So essentially we had the bolt coming back far enough to pick up the next round, but not coming back far enough to lock open the bolt. And the last round that was suppressed, we had a failure to feed. And that's most likely, once again, because the bolt was not coming back far enough, so it didn't have enough force to pick up that round properly. So will it run subsonics? Yes, but will it run them well? I guess it would depend on the make. Now, let's talk about what this gun is designed for. I really feel it is designed for CQB engagements and possibly for you, home defense. And in that way, I think this gun should be run with supersonic ammunition. And that might be another reason why they have a non-adjustable gas block. So that's how I'm going to run this for the rest of the review. I do have to say the sound of this gun suppressed is very, very quiet. Honestly, I kind of thought I was running subsonic ammunition when I was shooting it suppressed with those supers. Now let's talk about the accuracy. Well, as you can see, this gun is very accurate, and I would not have any problems using this for any type of home defense or shooting competitions or just going to the range. It's going to be great. It's a Knight's Armament. But now let's talk about the feel of this gun. And this is the one thing that really surprised me. This might be the softest recoiling 300 Blackout rifle I have ever shot. Honestly, as I said, when I shot that supersonic ammunition through it, I thought I was shooting subs. It's really quiet with a suppressor, and it has almost no recoil. It is a very pleasant gun to shoot. So now let's double the distance of this target. I'll put a lot more rounds down range with the suppressor. I want to see if I discover anything else about this gun and how it runs, and I also want to see how gassy this gun is. Sometimes when you run a direct impingement gun with a suppressor like this, you're going to get a lot of gas back in the face. You're going to smell it and feel it. So I want to test that out. So let's go back to the range. And all I can say is this gun runs great. It's a lot of fun, it seems to be well balanced, it has low recoil, and it seems to be perfectly gassed. And I'm really impressed by that. As I said, many times when it comes to a non-adjustable gas block, it means that they have had to spend a lot of time making sure it's going to run reliably. And this gun is, but it's not over-gassed. I'm not really feeling anything in my face. I'm not smelling the gas. I kind of thought I would with the addition of the suppressor. So it's running great. The ejections look great. No malfunctions. This is exactly the way I would want a 300 Blackout to be built. So now let's test the accuracy, and I'm going to set up the target at 25 yards. And yes, I know this gun can shoot way further than that. But as I said, I kind of feel like this gun is designed for CQB use or home defense. And in this case, 25 yards is going to be more than enough than you would ever need. So I'm going to set the target, as I said, at 25 yards, put some more rounds down range. I'm going to shoot it from the barrier or a bench and just see what the best group I can get with it is. And as I'm running a non-magnified optic, this thing is very consistent and very accurate. It is more accurate than you would ever need for CQB or home defense. And of course, once again, it is a Knights Armament. These things are known for their reliability and their accuracy, but this gun, as I said, I think is designed for closer engagements. And if you use it for that, I don't think you're going to have any problems whatsoever. So the next test I want to do is the quick magazine change test. Now, one of the issues I have had in the past with some of the Knights Armament guns is with this painted finish, it adds a little bit of thickness to the inside, or it might change the texture of the mag well. And sometimes getting these magazines in and out can be a little bit of a chore. Sometimes they stick. But here on the workbench, we're not having any problem whatsoever. I also want to see how fast I can pull this trigger. So I'm going to shoot some bursts with it, change the magazine out fast, get the gun back in action, and see how fast I can do it. And yes, I can shoot this gun fast and I can change the magazine out fast. These mags fall right out of this gun. Now, I was using more of the traditional way by pushing the button on this side, but if you did want to strip the magazine out with your left hand, you do have the magazine release right here and it comes right out. So depending on your style and how you want to run this gun, you'll have plenty of options, and it is a lot of fun to shoot. I'm very impressed with this trigger. All right, so the last test I want to do is the one I've been waiting the whole range trip for. Yes, the mag dump test. What am I testing here? Well, how much fun is this gun? So let's go back to the range. Let's put 30 rounds through this thing as fast as I can, see if I discover anything else about it, and then I'll come back here and give you my final thoughts. And everything about this gun is awesome. I can shoot it fast, it's easy to keep on target because the recoil is so low, it's running reliably, the ejections are very consistent, it's not overgassed. This has been a very pleasant and fun shooting experience. So what are my final thoughts on the Knights Armament SR-30 E3 Mod 2? Well, this is an outstanding firearm, and I'm going to say this is probably my favorite Knights Armament I have ever shot and reviewed. And I was not expecting that because it's chambered in 300 Blackout, which typically is pretty temperamental for me. This also follows the philosophy of KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. It doesn't have an adjustable gas block, and it seems to be very well tuned. It has a nice finish to it, which I think is a huge upgrade over some of the other Knights guns I have reviewed, and it seems to be very well gassed, fast, and accurate. I really have nothing negative to say about the way this gun performed at the range. So on my star system, how would I rate the Knights Armament SR-30 E3 Mod 2? Well, you guessed it. It's getting 5 out of 5 stars. This has been an incredible experience. I'm so glad that I got to review this, and it was a big surprise for me. As I mentioned, 300 Blackout might not be my favorite caliber because the guns can be so finicky, but this one really isn't, and I'm sure I can find some subsonic loadings that would run a little bit better in this one than the Winchester white box that I used, but it still ran, and I do like that. So what do you guys think? Are you a fan of Knights Armament? And what do you think of 300 Blackout? Is it better, the same, or worse than 5.56? Tell me your opinions in the comment section below. And, as always, thanks for watching.